Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at building this custom dial NH34 Batman GMT. Now you're probably saying, wait a minute, that watch is covered in scratches and dings. Don't worry, the watch wasn't sent out in this condition. This level of character, for lack of a better word, was developed over about a year of hard use. I figured some of you would be interested in seeing the kind of use these watches can endure and still keep on ticking. To get this one started, I'll break out the NH34 movement and get it secured into the movement holder. I can then get the dial washer out and set it in place over the center stack. Of course, when the washer is placed, it needs to be facing up to make a U rather than an N. I'll briefly set the movement aside, as again, I have to paint the GMT hand for this build. First, I'll secure the hand on 2 pieces of Rodico. I can then very carefully hand paint the shaft of the hand. As this is a Batman style GMT, the GMT hand will receive a coat of blue paint. I've mentioned in some previous videos that I found that using the smallest brush doesn't often work, as it doesn't hold enough paint to cover the whole shaft evenly. Here you'll see that using a slightly bigger brush allows the paint to bead up at the tip, allowing for an even coat. This build comes courtesy of a police officer named Brandon and is part of a larger order organized by him and the rest of his team. After Brandon reached out, the first thing we discussed was the dial. We again went with the trusted black enamel dial with BGW9 lume plots. We originally started with a very simple version which consisted of the letters DF, DN separated by a slash. These letters represent the region in which Brandon and his fellow officers patrol, known as District Frank and District Nora. The first request Brandon had was to change the font of the letters. He sent me an image of the letter F in a Gothic font next to what looked like a Native American headdress with panoramic night vision goggles. I found that this was imagery synonymous with a company called the Forward Observation Group. Doing a little bit more research, I found that the font used was called Nemec Gothic. After licensing the font from its owner, I applied it to the dial and sent the updated draft off. Pleased with the look of the letters, Brandon followed up by sending me the insignia of the 75th Ranger Battalion. His partner, who served in the Army, suggested using the lightning bolt from the logo to divide the letters. To better personalize the dial and match the colors throughout the watch, the original red fill of the bolt was changed to blue while the yellow outline remained. Finally, in order to make the watches truly unique, the officers decided to put their individual badge numbers just below the lightning bolt on the dial. As we get the hand set in place, we can talk about the man behind this watch in particular. Growing up, Brandon was more into cars and motorsports than watches. For many years, he would attend the Rolex Reunions event at the well-known Laguna Seca Raceway, famous for the Turn 8 corkscrew. It was at these events that Brandon developed the idea of one day owning a Rolex, though at this time he really didn't know much about them. He also didn't know what he wanted to do when he grew up, and never actually thought he'd be in law enforcement. He told me if anybody asked him if he wanted to be an officer as a teenager, he would have said hell no. It's funny how life works out, as now Brandon has been on the force for around 3 years, though he still describes himself as pretty new to the job. He mentioned that after 1 year, he began to see how much some of his fellow officers were into watches. After talking to a few of them, they convinced him to ditch his Apple Watch and pick up a nice mechanical watch. And so he did. To celebrate passing his 1-year probation period, he went out and bought himself an Omega Seamaster. From there, his collection grew to include a few Seiko 5s, a Tudor Black Bay that he has since given to his father, and perhaps most important of all, Brandon picked up a Rolex Explorer 2, realizing his childhood idea of one day owning a Rolex. While happy with his current rotation, he does have aspirations to add an Omega Speedmaster and a Rolex Submariner to the collection. He'd like to keep the collection relatively small to ensure that each watch gets some wrist time, though he did mention that he's been itching for a Grand Seiko Heritage ever since his sister came back from Japan with a new one on her wrist. As for this watch, he sees it as something he'll wear on a daily basis, as it represents the unit's camaraderie and acts as a way to remember the good times and the bad. I just hope for Brandon and his teammates that there's more good times than bad. So, a quick situation report on the build. The GMT, hour, and minute hand have all been set into place, and the seconds hand is being pushed down onto its post now. You'll have seen I got it in place using the old Rodico and the hand setting tool before moving over to another hand setting tool to push it down further. With all the hands now set into place, I can work on the case. The first thing to do is remove this gasket, which is actually the Caseback gasket. Why it's shipped on top of the bezel, I don't know. The caseback can be unscrewed and set aside for a minute before a microfiber is used to clean out the exterior and the interior of the case and crystal. This is actually an older order. I jumped around a bit to get other projects out sooner. With this being a build from the past, I've actually worked with Brandon again on a second order. For the second batch of watches, we did a Coke style GMT with a black and red bezel insert, a red GMT hand, and a slightly different custom dial. The next step in the process is getting the stem out of the movement. To do this, the movement is placed face down and a pair of tweezers is used to depress the stem release lever. Once that's pushed down, the stem can simply be pulled out of the movement. It's a little bit easier and less risky than the ETA 2824 stem from the last video. With the stem removed, I can release the movement from the movement holder and place it onto the movement pad. The final step before casing up the movement is to make sure that everything is clean. The crystal and case have already been wiped down, so now it's time to make sure that the dial is free of any dust or debris. The first step is to blow off as much as possible with the hand blower. This is then followed up with Rodico to remove anything that's a bit more stubborn. It looks like for this dial, we just had a few lingering particles. With the movement and dial now clean, all I have to do is take the case and place it down over the top of it. I'll then give it one final look to make sure that I didn't miss anything before removing it and setting it off screen for a second. It's now time to move on to lubrication. I do want to mention that even though it was not shown in this video, the crown stem was measured and cut down to size before being coned off with the Dremel and having Loctite applied to it. Lubrication follows the typical process where I use a micro Q-tip to apply a small amount of silicone grease into the groove in which the gasket sits. The gasket is then placed into the groove, making sure that it is set in place properly. You'll see on this watch, I struggled to get a portion of the gasket into place and decided it was best to work on it off camera. Don't worry, after some manipulation, it was set into place correctly. The gaskets within the crown tube were then lubricated with a micro Q-tip, as well as the gaskets within the crown itself. All of this should help prevent the gaskets from drying out and aid in water resistance. Now that everything is nice and lubed up, I can reinsert the crown stem back through the case and into the movement. Then I can get this little spacer in place. This just ensures that the caseback applies even pressure to the movement once it's screwed down completely. With the movement now in place, I can case everything up. Brandon and the rest of his team elected to use exhibition-style casebacks on their watches. We briefly discussed upgrading the rotor and bridge, though they liked the industrial look of the NH34, so no changes were made. While it may not be my favorite movement to put behind a display caseback, it is still very cool to see the balance oscillating away as well as all the rotor movements. Now for the bezel. Brandon has always been a fan of the Batman GMT, so using a black and blue insert was his first choice. He also felt like this colorway represented a police officer. It also helps that it matches with the blue lightning bolt on the dial as well as the uniform he wears. When used with the GMT hand, this bezel can display a second time zone. This watch can also be used as a compass. In order for this to work, both the hour hand and the GMT hand need to be set to the local time. Then, for people in the northern hemisphere, point your hour hand at the sun and your GMT hand will now automatically point north. This trick works on the assumption that the sun rises at 6 a.m. and sets at 6 p.m. This trick gets less accurate as you enter the time of year where the sunrise and sunset are further away from those points. So while an actual compass will always be more accurate, this is useful if you're in a jam. Just another reason why the GMT is one of, if not my favorite function. I have to be honest, I have no idea where the footage of me attaching the first side of the bracelet went. I don't know if it was saved in the wrong folder or if I never recorded it in the first place. Regardless, the Oyster style bracelet is attached just like previous bracelets. The spring bar is inserted through the end link is then lined up between the lugs, A spring bar tool is used to compress the spring bar and set the end link into place, and then the spring bar is released. Sometimes the spring bars don't set themselves into the little divots right away, so I'm using an older pair of tweezers to help work it into the correct spot. Once the spring bar is secure, the last thing to do is attach both ends of the bracelet. To do this, the links are lined up and then a screw is placed through them and then tightened down. As I get this watch finished up, I want to give a big thank you to Brandon and his fellow officers. It's always great to work with law enforcement units on custom watches, and luckily I had the opportunity to work with Brandon on 2 different batches of watches. Hopefully there's many more to come in the future. This one was kind of a return to my roots after the Skeleton Daytona and the ETA 2824 Wheezy build, but don't worry, I've still got plenty of out-of-the-box stuff planned for the rest of the year. As we get this one all cleaned up, I just want to mention that if you're interested in commissioning a custom watch, please reach out to me via email or over on Instagram, and I'd be more than happy to discuss the build with you in more detail. We're going to finish this one up with some shots of the watch in studio lighting. Thanks for watching.